So just sit back, and I hope you learn a few things from this occasion today. So um sorry. Coming. Sorry, I have to get this settled. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we can all see my screen. So I'm Chris Ikechi, young and enthusiastic climate actor who leverages his skills to promote climate action and improve the environmental sustainability, and also try to work towards achieving the SDGs. So you're welcome. So let's just get to it. So a bit of an introduction. Sports events generate substantial amount of waste. So responsible waste management can mitigate environmental impacts, the opportunity to set an example for fans and the community at large. So why waste management in sports matters? One of the reasons is because responsible waste management can mitigate environmental impact. That is one. Um, Another reason is because of the opportunity to set an example for the fans and communities. So what I'm trying to get at here is that we can leverage sports to educate and set examples to the fans of these different sports that we are talking about in this particular academy. So we'll dive deep down to look at the current scenario. So we'll look at the scale of the problem, look at common waste types that are generated during sports events, food packaging, merchandise, and more. So we'll look at sports events produce tons of waste annually, and then we'll also that there are limited recycling and improper disposal around those wastes that are generated during sports events. So moving forward, there are benefits of proper waste management generally, not just for sports now, in a wider scope. There are a lot of benefits that comes with proper waste management. So some of those benefits include environmental conservation, reduces carbon footprints, minimizes landfill waste, protects local ecosystem. So talking about environmental conservation, we're talking about not just for sports now, on the wider scale. Environmental conservation talks about our ability to manage the natural resources around us, to maximize them, and also to try to help nature and replenish as fast as we are taking from the environment. I don't know if you understand, like instead of always taking, conservation talks about being able to also think about, okay, what if I keep taking? Obviously, we know that most of these resources, they are not unlimited. They can finish. So conservation means we have to sit back and think about how we can also help nature to keep giving us all these good stuff that it's giving. So reduces carbon footprints, minimizes landfill waste. Those are self-explanatory. I believe yesterday the speaker talked about carbon footprint, what it means. Basically, it's about how much um, carbon you as an individual release into the environment as per the activities that you engage in your daily life. So the moment you are dancing, the moment you're eating, the moment you're in that bus heading for market, the moment you're going for that party and all that, you leave these carbon footprints all over the sands of time. So proper waste management will help you to reduce carbon footprints. Protection of local ecosystem. Obviously, when you have a conserved ecosystem, when you have a conserved environment, definitely the local ecosystem will be protected because you are going to be careful what you take from the environment at this point, which in turn will allow you to allow the ecosystem to develop naturally without being forced. So moving forward, still on the benefits of proper waste management, there are attracts eco-conscious sponsors and fans. Now, this is the benefits to sports itself. We talked about the general scope before, so this one is directly talking about the different sports that we are gathered here to talk about. So it attracts eco-conscious sponsors and fans, meaning that as an environmentalist, maybe I don't like football, I don't like cricket, I don't like any of these sports. But when I see some of the things that they do or they have policies that has to do with the environment, it can steer me to want to join and support such teams or such organizations as it may be. So managing your waste properly as a sports institution will definitely attract eco-conscious sponsors and fans towards you. So positive image and branding, this has to do with you as a sporting organization. Your image and your brand will be seen as an environmentally friendly brand, which in turn also will enhance your reputation in the society. So enhances the reputation of sports organizations. That's the next thing. When you have a positive brand image, definitely your reputation would definitely be enhanced. So the next one is showcasing social responsibility. So social responsibility is a very, very huge topic that a lot of companies, a lot of organizations especially in Nigeria here, they don't really take serious. You understand? But it's a very, very important aspect of whatever we're going to try to achieve as a nation, as individuals, and also as an organization. You need to be socially responsible. You need to think about the environment. That policy that you're about to make in your company, how is it going to impact the environment? As an oil servicing company, as a sports company, any type of company that you are, generally, you need to be careful. You need to be mindful that you have an impact on the environment, and you need to have those policies reflect that you actually care about the environment. So moving on the benefits of proper waste management, cost saving, reducing waste disposal fees, potential for revenue from recycling, fewer fines for environmental violations. So these are massive advantages or benefits that sports companies, and in fact, any company can get from being conscious of the environment, from managing their waste properly. So when you manage your waste properly, you save costs, definitely. Because for example, if you're using an IoT powered bin, what I mean by IoT powered bin is there are some waste bins that have the ability to detect when they are full. So they signal you that, okay, you can come and take out the trash and full now. So you don't have to ride or come down to the place every time to check if it's full. You just come once you get the signal and then pick it. So you save the cost of coming there maybe twice a day to meet an empty waste bin. So you save that cost. So you have to just come once you get the signal. So that is one of the advantages of proper waste management. Reduced waste disposal fees. Obviously, when you manage your waste properly, you audit your waste, you know exactly how much waste to generate, you know how to manage, you ban some kind of single use plastics in the arena that you use. You reduce the number of waste that is being generated, which in turn will reduce the waste disposal fees that you pay, because most of the time you pay for these things measured in tons and all that. So once you reduce the number of waste you generate, it will reflect in the waste disposal fee that you pay also. So moving forward, the potential for revenue from recycling. Definitely, this is something that um, sports companies or sports institutions have to look into, the potential for revenue in recycling. And this is not just about the sports industry now, it's a general thing. It's something that can be looked into by any institution, schools, government parastatals, and all that. It is possible to generate revenue from recycling of the waste generated from your stadiums, from your sporting arenas, and what have you, from your game reserves and all that. So these are benefits that can be gotten when you properly manage your waste. Fewer fines for environmental violation. Even though in our country, Nigeria, here, it's not something that looks like it's possible to find a big sports organization or to find any big organization, as a matter of fact, for um, violating environmental laws. Uh, we have laws actually on the environment, even in Nigeria. I believe in subsequent lectures, some of my colleagues that will come on here would be able to elaborate on the laws that guide the environment, that guides organizations also as regards to how they interact with the environment. So when you manage your waste properly, you will understand these policies, you will understand these laws, so you will not be in a position where you have to violate them and then pay the fines that come with them. So that is also an advantage. So strategies for effective waste management. So these strategies are not just they're not just for sports institutions. You can actually take these strategies and apply them to any institution, as a matter of fact, and it will yield wonderful results. So one of the strategies is waste audit. So waste audit has to do with identifying waste sources, determining the recyclable materials, setting benchmark for improvement. So basically what I'm trying to let you understand here is when you apply this strategy of waste auditing, it means you need to understand, okay, which side of my company, which side of this stadium, for example, generates what size of waste. Once you know this, it means you know which land dump sites are going to get filled faster than the others, because it's not always going to be the same or equal around your institution, around the environment where your company or sports institution is. So when you know the waste sources around you, it will help you manage your waste properly. So when you determine also the types of recyclables, the materials that are recyclable that are part of your waste, it will definitely help you to manage your waste. So when you understand this, you can easily do what is called sorting. Sorting at source means you can be able to say, okay, maybe this on match days or game days that people drink a lot of plastic um, drinks, Coke, and all the rest of them. So when you apply all these three steps that I listed here, you should be able to manage your waste even more properly. So that is what the strategies are about. So the next strategy is sustainable event planning. So sustainable event planning has to do with reducing single-use plastic, opt for eco-friendly merchandise, encourage vendors to use recyclable materials. So this is very, very important. I think sometime 2 months ago, I went for an event that was sponsored by some of the big radio stations in my state here, even the police, FRC, all these government big boys, they were there. But I noticed that the event was an environmental themed event. It was work for safety, work for security. If you are from Port Harcourt and you're here and you listen to Wave FM, I'm very sure that you'll be familiar with it. So when I got there, I noticed that they planned the event. They bought a lot of bottled water, without plans of how to manage the waste that will come, the PET bottles that will come out of this people having this bottled water. So I had to ask questions, and I realized they didn't have plans for it. So I found a way to get waste bags, and I started plugging with them because it was work for safety. So we were jogging around a certain some designated point. Please, everyone should mute their mic. I'm getting distracted. So sorry about that. So when I asked questions and I found out that they did not have a sustainable event planning for that particular event, I had to get waste bags from somewhere with my gloves, and I started jogging and asking people, if you are done with your water bottle, you should give me the bottle. Let me put in the waste bag and all that. So it became a thing. People are now looking for me stuff to even put their used water bottles. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I don't know who.
Hi, Jason Chris. Kindly unmute yourself and proceed.
Oh, sorry. I don't know where you guys lost me. I didn't know I was muted. So I'll just continue.
Just few seconds ago, while you were talking about people looking for you to dispose their pet bottles.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, I had to, once they got understood what I was doing, they started looking for me to get to dispose their pets properly, and that was it for the event. So looking at reducing single-use plastics and opting for eco-friendly merchandise, these are things that can be done when you're planning your events. If you're planning an inter-house sports, you're planning a marathon, if you're planning any type of sporting event or any type of event at large, even a wedding, you can impute some of these things into your planning so that you should be able to manage it, to become your strategy for managing your waste generally. So looking at opting for eco-friendly merchandise, obviously if you're planning for an event and you have an option of getting a company that uses plastic throughout for their packaging, and there is a company that maybe uses something else, maybe uses any other type of material that is less harsh to the environment, and you opt to use that company, that is you sustainably planning your event. Encouraging vendors to use recyclable materials also is another strategy that you can apply. So moving forward, another strategy that sports institutions can use to manage their waste is fan engagement. So I don't know if anybody have been to any stadium or you watch football or any type of sports that you do watch. There are announcers in these arenas, like these people on this loud mic with loudspeakers. They will be announcing stuff all through the event. So you hear them call names and read out things, and the crowd will cheer, stuff like that, even when you watch wrestling. So when you have somebody on that mic that is environmentally conscious, that has the environment at heart, and this person is always reminding the fans that, okay, don't bring, instead of buying pets, you can get this, we have this option in the store. There is other things that you can do instead of doing this. These are ways that you can start engaging the fans. You can start letting the fans know that there are other alternatives to those things that are not environmentally friendly. So once you start doing this, given time, even the next point, social use of social media to raise awareness. Once you start doing all these things, promotion for promote fan participation in waste reduction, offer incentive for eco-friendly behavior. Once you start doing all these things, these sports, it's said that the fans are the heart of of any sports at all. So once you start encouraging them to behave in certain ways that are eco-friendly, they start to love it because they love the team, they love the sports, they love the players, and they want to do things the way that these clubs or these teams want them to do it. So being a fan is it runs deep for most people, even down to where you have families that are divided across uh, uh, allegiances to different kind of teams or within the same sport. So once you encourage your fans through all these means that I've listed here to live sustainably, to be eco-conscious, definitely it will help you manage your waste. Because if imagine you're going to an event where all the fans are aware that instead of buying bottled water in the arena, they can bring their own waste, their own reusable bottled water and get refilled somewhere around the stadium. That is a beautiful idea, which will encourage these fans to the point that you notice that even when they are going to walk now, they will prefer to carry their reusable bottled water, water bottles to the walk. So it changes their behavior, it molds them as an individual generally. So success stories. So the success stories, I'm trying to look at some of the ways that um, these strategies have been used effectively in the world of sports to um, manage waste generally. So the first one is electric bikes and scooters. So at the World Cup, 2022 World Cup, I don't know if anybody here is a fan of football, but I watched most of the matches at the World Cup. But what you would not know that is that the planning of the World Cup, they had the ideas to include these electric bikes and scooters. They positioned them at most of the metro stations close to the venues, that's the arenas, the stadiums for the World Cup, so that when you come out from the train, from wherever you're coming from, you can just take any of these bikes instead of now taking a car or something that will generate a lot of uh, waste to the environment. So basically, that was how they handled it. And then there is this story about Japanese fans that will always clean the stadium after every match, whether their team win or lose this, they will always do that cleaning. And then there is Pali for the Ocean, is an agreement between this Pali startup and Adidas, where they use Adidas design. Like Adidas would design some shoes and they try to produce these shoes using recycled materials. That's they use waste material, and they've recorded resounding success. And also, they've been successful in designing and producing this in large scale. So, going on, just in a minute, just a minute. Okay, sorry about that. So, looking at the challenges and solutions. Obviously, and then we are going to look at the solution. Some of the obstacles are limited infrastructure in some locations, resistance to change, and high initial cost. Definitely, most of these strategies that I listed out are not going to be cheap. They are mostly expensive. They're mostly expensive, and they can these are the challenges, these are the obstacles that we can face when trying to implement some of the strategies that I just mentioned. But then the brighter side is that we have some solutions to these problems also. So one of the solutions is to collaborate with local authorities. Another solution is to partner with sustainability-focused organizations. The next one is to seek for sponsorship for green initiatives. So yeah, the Parley for the Ocean that I mentioned is an initiative, is a green initiative that ocean. So they go to the ocean, they try to rid the ocean of some of the waste material that have been deposited there by all forms of maybe erosion, human activity, and all that. So they get this waste and they try to use it to produce other things. Like I said, they had an arrangement with Adidas. Adidas is one of the biggest shoe and wares makers for most of the sports, not just football. They are in many other sports, basketball and what have you. So they had this agreement with them, and they were able to produce some of these materials from waste that they gathered from the ocean. So this is how sponsorship for green initiatives can be a solution. Also, partner with sustainability focused organization is an advantage. Also, that a solution that we can look at here, for example, imagine the Super Eagles are having a match with any country, maybe in Abuja or Akwa Ibom. I think they like Akwa Ibom Stadium now more, and they partner with Plugin Nigeria for the match, and then Plugin has to maybe have people on ground that day to tell people that this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do, this is how it's done, this is how it's not done in the area of waste management. That would be a beautiful idea. So that partnership is definitely a solution that we can leverage. Collaborating with local authorities, definitely you cannot really make any sustainable impact without involving the locals. So it's important to involve them in the discussion, carry them along, make sure that they are in on what is going on. So that about the challenges and solutions. So the road ahead. So moving forward, we'll be looking at the continual improvement in waste management. We'll also be looking to integrate the integration of sustainable practices into sports culture, influence on fans to adopt eco-conscious habits. So these are the things, some of the things I believe that we can take advantage of. So for the first one, the continual improvement in waste management, this is where you and I come in, right? We're here, we're learning about these things. We know about it now. So it's on us to go out there, educate people, teach them, and make our voice heard. Make sure that anybody that you know that is a football fan or any type of fan, any sport at all, understands that sports is definitely connected to the environment, and there are things that can be done to get the balance between sports affecting the environment and also the environment affecting sports. So that is one of the things you're going to learn, or you're learning already in this academy. So it is important that we continue in the improvements generally. So the other one is to integration of sustainable practices into sports culture. This is something that is very, very important. I think there was this guy I know, Hector Bellerin. I don't know if anybody. He's a Spanish international. He plays football for the Spanish national team. He was at Arsenal one time, like that, and then he said something that if Arsenal should win a particular match, he will plant, I think, 1,000 trees or something. So that is a very, very, very welcome um, idea that can be adopted by anybody or any fan or any club or any sports institution. So that is something that we can look to also bring awareness to these issues. So influence on fans to adopt eco-conscious habits. I think I've talked about it, where these clubs can be able to influence their fans through their actions, through their policies, to live a sustainable life. So conclusions and call to action. Sports can be a powerful driver for positive change. Waste management in sports benefits the environment, organizations, and the communities. Let's work together to create a sustainable future through responsible waste management in sports. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I will entertain a few questions if we have. I think I've taken much of your time. I'm really, really sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So to our participants, before we end this Zoom section and go back to my WhatsApp platform to finish, ask, do you have anybody? Okay, I can see a hand already. Jacob, question to ask.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, our speaker, for today. But there's something you're saying that really caught my attention, and that has to do with, you say you went to an event that should, I don't know, that should be in Port Harcourt or in a particular place, and at the end of the day, you went about picking some of these plastic bottle water. So what did you do, if I may ask, what did you do with that particular plastic bottle at the end of the day, if I may ask? Because it's very important. Well, like myself, I do go to some occasion before now, and I will see some children, they'll be picking those container, and I was like, what are you guys doing? And at the end of the day, someone would just like brief me, don't you know that they sell those container and there are those type of thing. So I'm just imagining so since as an adult, what were you doing with those container at the end of the day? So I know you're trying to keep the environment, but just explain more what you actually did do with those material at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Jacob. Yeah. When I was speaking those plastic bottles, honestly, I didn't know what to do with it because I didn't have any contact of any recycling firm in Port Harcourt as at the time. But the first idea is, if I should allow them throw it anywhere, definitely is going to the gutters. So the first idea is to not allow them to litter the gutters. So luckily for me, there was a lady in the crowd also that is into recycling, and she told me that she came to me afterwards, and she was like, am I into recycling? Do I have use for these things? That she's into recycling and all that. I was like, hey, do you want to take them? She said, yeah, fine. So she took them off me free of charge anyway. So that was initially, honestly, I didn't have any idea what to do with those things, but I'm very, very sure that I'm not going to stand there and watch them run around the streets, drink bottled waters, and just throw it off as they like. So yeah, I hope your question is answered.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Do you have any other person? Any other person with question? Wait for the next 5 to 6 seconds. If there's no other person, then we will have to end this section. Okay, Jacob. Yeah, that's a great thing to do. So let's try to emulate and keep pushing. Okay, Miriam Yusuf, please. For the sake of time, if you have questions, please signify now so that we can attend to everybody at the same time. Please signify now. So while Miriam would come up to ask a question, I'll appreciate any other person that have 1 or 2 questions to signify, because after this question, if we do not signify, we would have to end the section and move back to our WhatsApp platform. Thank you. Miriam, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Um, I don't know. My question is that apart from sports, are there any kind of large organizations like that that can be used to mobilize people to encourage them about eco-friendly behaviors? I don't know if you get my
Def-
question.
I think if I get your question correctly, you want to know if there are other organizations that have the capacity to also infuse change in the mind of people as in
Yeah,
regards
on
to
a
the
large
environment.
scale, as large as food sports is.
Okay, definitely. As much as we talk about government is an organization too, and government is one of the most powerful set of uh, institution in any place, in any environment you find yourself. So government is one of the biggest factors when it comes to change making. And if government should take responsibility, just like some of these sports organizations that we mentioned before, they definitely will be able to push and make even large scale changes than football is able to do. That's what I think. So I hope I answered your question.
Okay, Adiyemi Blessing, I can see your request in the chat box. Please go ahead to ask your question as we take that as the last question for tonight's section. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, you can hear you.
Okay, all right. Good evening. So my question is like today, like regarding our task that we have to go out and check around waste bins and waste disposals and estimate the types of wastes that are there. So what just came to my mind today was like regarding the type of waste, we know plastics are being recycled feasibly, like plastics are more recycled. I was just thinking like, is there anything for nylons to, I think nylons are a type of plastics, I'm not sure. But is there anything about recycling for nylons? Are there methods that they are using to recycle nylons and all that stuff? Because today, when I bought a nylon of pure water, I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? So it's that kind of thing, that kind of mindset. And like, is there a way that they are recycling nylons? Because I would just like to know too. So that's my question. I
Okay.
don't know if it makes sense. So.
Yeah, I understand the question. It's actually a valid one. Most people do not know that beside PET bottles, that stuff like nylon even newspapers can be recycled. So they can be recycled. But then one thing with sachet water is that nylon is one of the things that I categorize as single-use plastic in quote. So after you drink the water from that nylon becomes useless in quotes. So if you can avoid that, by all means, please do. I know it's difficult like I said, one of the challenges is being able to bring this thing down to the grassroots, bring it to the streets, bring it to the homes and all that. It's difficult, but when and if you can, please avoid the use of these things. So that's just what I have to say on that.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. And once again, thank you, Brother Ice, this Psalms and this calls, and thanks to fellow participants that are still to the end of tonight's sections. I believe we've gained one or two things, and I believe that the implementation of this is not just about us hearing it, but we'll go out and preach the gospel and practice what we've learned as well. So once again, thank you very much. But this is not the end. Let's just move back to our WhatsApp platform to finish the rest of the lessons we started, and from there we'll wrap it up for the day. Thank you very much. As I think about from here, and we'll meet again on the Grey app. Thank you.